Hi, everybody. Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. How are you today? I hope everyone's doing well. It's a beautiful sunny January day here in the state of Illinois. And last night before I went to bed, I thought, Valentine's Day is going to be here before we know it. And I'm horrible at not getting things done ahead of time. It's just who I am. I've fought it my whole life, a few decades now, we'll just say that. And sometimes I do really well and get stuff done ahead of time, sometimes I don't. But I thought today maybe it would be fun to take a little bit of time and sew together and make what I'm calling the little Be Mine pouch, because it kind of reminds me of when we were kids and we used to get those Valentines that had a little banner on them. It said Be Mine across them. So that's what I thought we could make today. Super duper simple. It's got a zip, opens all the way up, got nice lining in it. I think after you make your first one, you'll probably be able to knock these out like 4 or 5 in an hour, because they really don't take any time at all. So if you had several that you wanted to make to give as gifts for Valentine's, maybe with a gift card in it, or some chocolates. I mean, that kind of came to mind too. As long as they were wrapped, you wouldn't want to get them the chocolate to melt in here. Or you could give them, it'd be great to give as a teacher's gift, something like that. So, and it's a super quick, inexpensive little project for you to make. And if you have a child that wants to help to make something for their teacher, you could probably work with this with the child and help them to create it, because it really is. I know there's a few curves here and there is this zipper, but trust me when I say this is the simplest zipper install ever. So you might want to help them with that. You might want to do the sewing around the curves, but I bet they could help. I bet they could at least help like tracing the pattern, that sort of thing. So you don't need much at all. Down in the description box, you're going to see a link for the template, which is just this heart. And then you're going to see another link that's going to give you a sheet of cutting instructions, how much of each piece you need to make, because you're going to need one template, one lace zipper. Now, I know this is a really huge one, right? And you only need technically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 or 7, about 7 to 8 inches. So if you got an 8-inch zipper, you wouldn't have much wastage. If you use a longer one, you'll have plenty to add another zipper pull onto it and use it for another project. I just always buy my lace zippers really long and then kind of reuse them until there's nothing left. So you're going to need 2 hearts using your template cut out of fabric. I chose the same fabric. One is for the back and one is for that lining on the inside. But you can choose a different color for the lining and a different piece for the backing if you'd like to, but I just chose the same one. So you'll need 2 of those. You're going to need 1 piece of SF101 by Pellon or something similar. What this is, it's also called Shape Flex. It is a woven fusible stabilizer. So this side is just like a piece of cotton fabric, woven cotton fabric. And on the back, it's got a little bumpiness to it. That's basically the glue that allows it to fuse to your fabric. So you'll need a piece that's about 7 by 8 or so, because you're just going to cut out, eventually you'll have, it needs to fit 1 heart on it. The one specialty thing you're going to need, which you may not have, but it's easy to find these days, is a piece of cork fabric. They come in rolls. They also come in sheets. These sheets are about 7 or 8 by 9 inches. Let's see, I actually have it written out, 7 by 9. And it's perfect for making this little project. You can see from the sheet that I cut mine out of. I still have this left, so I can still like use that for cutting out little tags and appliques and stuff. Probably you could find this at a local craft store. I know that there is a shop online called Sew Sweetness, SEW sweetness.com. The owner of that business, who is a lovely woman and extremely talented, sells cork, all kinds of cork. And she used to sell bags of these 7x9 pieces. So you might look there to see if she still does that. You can also look on Amazon, also look at a local craft store. But because if you're going to make more than one, you could get a roll, which is usually like a half yard to a yard. You could make several of them with that, right? You could make all of them that you need and have plenty and still have leftover probably. So, but you will need the cork. Or if you don't have cork, I know you can get faux leather at your craft stores. It's really inexpensive. One roll would probably allow you to make 3 or 4 of these for like $4 or $5. It's just a faux leather. That would work as well because that product or the cork doesn't fray, and that's what you need here is a non-fraying type thing. That's why I'm not going to suggest you use fabric on the front because that takes more time and a little bit different technique. So you'll need your cork or faux leather. You'll need your zipper, 2 pieces of fabric cut, your template, and your SF101, your Pellon. And the nice thing about cork, like this one is printed, isn't that pretty? And then this one that I used today is in this beautiful purple. So you can get them in solids. You can get also what is just a natural cork, which is really quite lovely. And that would give you a little more room for what color zipper you want to use, what color fabric you wanted to use. You wouldn't have to be so matchy like with the purple. I wanted to kind of keep everything in the purple family. Alrighty, so super simple. And the first thing you want to do is, I can't pick that up, is cut out your template, your heart template. Lay it on the back side of your cork and draw around it with a pencil, a heat erasable pen, whatever you want, because you're on the back side, so you're not going to see the marking. And to use it in the best way, like really get it up to your corners and all. That way you have some left over for other projects, tags and things. Draw around it and then cut that out with, I use my fabric scissors with this cork because it is a cork fabric. This is a fabric-y kind of backing to it, and it doesn't damage my scissors. If you really prefer not to cut anything but actual fabric with your fabric scissors, craft scissors would work fine too for that. Then you're going to use the same template, and if you do like I did, just fold your fabric over so it's 2 layers. Lay this on there. You could use a rotary cutter if you wanted, if you're really good with a rotary cutter, or again, I just traced around it and then just cut them both out. Now, the one thing you don't have to cut out like that to start is your fusible. So I'm going to flip the camera over. There we go. So there's our little sample. Okay. And it opens up on that diagonal, just like that. Great for earbuds, great for change, lip gloss, anything like that. You could keep like zipper feet in here or something if you wanted to, like if you want to use it for a sewing craft, something like that. If you're a knitter, this would be great to hold your stitch markers in here as well. Okay, so what you want to do, I'm going to bring in my pressing mat here. There we go. You want to take your fusible and lay it down and lay the back of your cut out cork heart. Whoops, sorry, not your cork heart. Your back piece of fabric. Sorry. So this is pretty, mine is a pretty snug fit here. There we go. So you want to lay, so this is the fusible side, the bumpy side, and this is the back of your fabric. So with your pretty side facing up, and this is the bumpy side. Flip it over, and careful not to do a lot of pressing out here, but I just kind of slowly press it. Even if it gets tiny bit stuck on the edge to my mat, it really doesn't hurt it. I've done that a million times and I'm still using the same mat. So there, just, it's not sticky on the mat after. So after I get it fused on there pretty well, I just do one very light fusing, being really careful not to get my iron on the fusible. Now, if you have an applique pressing sheet or a pressing cloth, you could put that on there, and then that would help you to keep any fusible from getting onto your iron as well. All righty, so we'll set this back to the side. So now I have my heart, which is the back of my piece, which is this piece, fused right to the fusible backing. We're going to do a couple little screen changes here. There we go. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut around it to cut off this excess fusible. Super simple. And if you have scraps of this SF101, like if you use it for other things, I use it a lot because I do a lot of machine embroidery and stuff. So if you have scraps of it, like this was just a scrap piece that I had from another project, great way to use up scraps. If you have scrap fabric and you have some pieces that are large enough for this template to fit on, like this one, you know, where it's pretty snug, but it does fit. Great way also to use up that scrap fabric. I know as stitchers, we're always looking for ways to use scrap fabric. I have a friend on Facebook, a gentleman, and he does some of the most lovely scrap quilts. I don't think he's actually been quilting all that long, but boy, does he do a beautiful job on his quilts using scrap fabric. I tend to think scrappy quilts are some of the prettiest, and they have the best history because all those fabrics have a different story to tell. And as a story person, I love that idea. So anyway, here we go. Here's our back fabric, and we've got our fusible on there. Okay, and then once I've got it cut like that, I'm just going to run my iron over it a little bit again, just to make sure it's good and fused onto there. All righty. So we can set that side apart, or that piece aside for a moment. Now I'm going to bring in my heart. Let me flip the camera again. There we go. So I'm going to bring in my cork heart. And what we're going to do now is actually apply our zipper. And I know this is the part that always freaks people out because people always get really worried about putting in zippers. But I promise you, this is probably the simplest form of zipper installation you'll ever do. So I've got my heart, and it's just laying, I'm looking at it, so I know it looks a little upside down for you. But it's facing me so I can see it. And I'm just laying my zipper. I've got my zipper pulled off the heart, and then all of this is my extra down here. And I just got it on there kind of where I want it. And all you need to do is kind of put it on a diagonal. If you want that diagonal to be a little steeper like that, that would be okay. If you want it to be a little less steep like that, that would be okay. That's how I like it, because it gives a good turn area for this part of the heart. If I put it way up here, that turn is going to have this part of the zipper in it, and that's going to make it a little bulky there. So I've got my zipper kind of where I want it. Now, if you want to help you, you can use a zipper tape underneath this. It's a special little tape. Hang on, let me grab it. I should have had it ready. My bad. But you can use here we go. You can use this tape to hold it on there. I don't typically, because I just hold it on as I go. But this is the zipper tape. And it's adhesive on one side. There we go. So all I need to do is unroll a piece. flip my zipper over. And I don't worry about putting it down the whole zipper. I just want a piece on there that's going to help me hold my zipper in place. Helps if I put it the right side down. So I just lay it on there. And then I peel off the backing paper. Now, you could do the other side as well, but once one side is stuck down, your second side isn't going anywhere. So I place it again. Now, if you don't have zipper tape, you can always, the pin is going to be a little rough. I really suggest if you don't have zipper tape, to use, I'm just getting the leftover of that zipper tape out of there. Take and use some paper tape, some low adhesive paper tape, and just kind of put a piece here and put a piece here. That'll hold it down while you zip it, and then you can just take the tape off at the end. Okay. So zipper tape or some regular tape, or just hold on to it with your fingers. It's really not that difficult, but if it's new to you, it's going to seem quirky to do it. So you might need help with some of those tape type tools. Okay, so now we're going to take this to the sewing machine. And before I do, I'm going to show you just exactly what we're going to do. Get my little pointer here ready. I have a lovely friend over in the UK who makes these beautiful wooden, one end is a seam ripper and one end is a stiletto. And another lovely friend gifted me this, and I just adore it. So I'm just going to start on one end, and I don't have to be right up here next to the teeth. I can be out here a little bit if I want to with this piece. In fact, it's probably best if you're out just a little bit from that zipper, from those zipper teeth. And I'm going to stitch a straight line all the way down. And then I'm going to come around to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing back. Okay. Now, if you have a zipper foot on your machine for your sewing machine, that might help you. I won't be using a zipper foot today just because I have my walking foot on my machine, and it works fine for putting this zipper on. But if you're new to putting zippers on, your zipper foot is meant to be used in a situation like this. So I can recommend that you maybe attach your zipper foot to put this on. Let me flip the camera over to the sewing machine. And just 1 second, my zipper tape decided to be uncooperative. There we go. All right. So we're over here at the sewing machine. I've got a purple thread, top thread, ready. I'm just going to put this under my foot. And because I have, like I said, because I have my walking foot on, it kind of covers everything up really nicely. So it works fine for putting this zipper on. But if you have a zipper foot, please feel free to use it. Your zipper foot will ride right along that edge like that, and then it will stitch down right through here. Okay, it's a much smaller foot. In fact, let's see, I will show you what a zipper foot looks like in case you don't know which one is your zipper foot. A lot of zipper foots look like, I've got a couple different ones in here. So your zipper foot, a lot of zipper foots these days look like this. It's got a little bar here that your foot attaches to, and depending on which side you connect it to, your needle goes in this little divot here or this little divot here, and depending on which side you hook it on, it'll either ride to this side of the zipper or to this side of the zipper. Okay. However, there's also some, I like this one personally, it's my favorite. It's a teeny tiny little guy. And again, you can put it to this side or to this side, but it only has the one connection and it's a nice thin foot. And it really hugs that zipper nicely. But I had to order this one. It wasn't very expensive. I think I spent $7 on it. It was really inexpensive. And if you don't have a zipper foot, your regular foot will work as well. It's not a requirement. All right, so, oh, there we go. Helps if I put my presser foot down. If you're new to doing zippers, just go slow. There's nobody telling you have to go fast. There's no reason to get concerned and have to speed along. You're in control. I'm just going to zip off the end a little bit. Pull it out. I'm going to snip this thread at this end. Okay. Gotta kind of get the rest of that length out of the way there. I'm going to cut my strings down here at my other end as well. Now I'm just going to come back down the other side, doing the same exact thing, except on the other side. See, now with my walking foot, part of the foot is riding right on top of the zipper, so it's keeping everything in place for me really well as also. So that's why I wasn't too worried about using it. Okay. And that is installing your zipper for this project. 2 quick sewn line, that's all there is to it. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. You know, it's a little hard to see because it's purple, but there you go. That's better. Alrighty, so now we're going to come back over to our main camera and board. Okay, so I've got my zipper on here. And what we're going to do now is take our zipper pull, and we're going to pull it into about the middle. Now, as you're opening it, it might want to get caught right there on the beginning of the cork. So you may have to just kind of wiggle it over that a little bit, but it should just come right undone. Okay, easy peasy. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm I better go ahead and do this now. I'm going to go back to my machine, and I'm just going to sew right over this part and make what I call a zipper stop, a kind of a faux zipper stop. So let me move this. And the reason I'm going to do this is because occasionally when I go to open this back up or close it back up, I have been known for my zipper teeth or my zipper pull to come right off in the middle of my sewing. I never had that happen until the last time I did a demo this way, and my zipper pull came right off and I had to try and put it back on, and it was a fun moment, let's just say that. So I'm just going right over the edge, forward and back. And as long as your zipper have these nylon teeth, you can sew right over them. Please don't sew over something that's got metal teeth. That will break your needles. And that's always a bit of a scary proposition when the needles break like that. And who wants to have to deal with a broken needle, right? All righty. So now I'm just going to turn around and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. And I'm just right on the edge there. I'm not like a 1/4 inch in or anything. I'm probably not even 1/8 of an inch in. Just enough to make a seam there across the back where it won't, the zipper won't come off when I'm working on it. Okay, let's flip the cameras again. All righty, here we go. So my zippers are on here, and now I can cut my zippers, my excess zipper tape off. You can do that with scissors if you like, but this is one thing I don't use my good scissors on. I have an old, you can tell how old and grody that this blade is. I mean, this blade is probably a couple of years old, but this is an old handle, an old rotary handle. And when I had one of my blades get too dull for cutting fabric well, I just stuck it on here and I use it to cut through things that I won't cut with my scissors. I open like boxes in the mail with this thing. I kind of use it like an old-fashioned box cutter, if you are old enough to remember what that is. So there you go. Now we have our zipper on and it's cut, but we still need to open it up, right? So let's unzip it. Now we have our zipper pull here, but let's not be, you know, really hard on it. Let's just take it to the edge there nicely. And then I just kind of unfold it a little bit there. And I take my rotary cutter. I open this up so that, you know, I don't accidentally cut my, and I just give it a little roll there, just to get a little cut in there. See? Now I do take my scissors and I just, if you have to maneuver it, maneuver the teeth out of the way, by all means do that, because you don't want them to get cut. The teeth get cut, then, you know, you're back at square one, because it won't zip then. Just come down to the end and zip, cut, and now my opening is done. And I can zip it back. Now, don't zip it all the way to the end, because this is also going to be our turning gap. So just zip it to about right there. That's fine. That way this is out of the way, everything's out of the way. Now, you do want to take a piece of paper tape or something like that. I never did used to use this little technique until more recently, and I found that actually, you know, it really does help. It keeps that little zipper pull from causing trouble. So what I do is I lay my zipper pull right there. I take this little piece of tape. That way, when I'm sewing everything together, this isn't flopping around and causing things to shift, or it wouldn't really get in the way of the seam. But, you know, if it flipped back and forth, it could cause things to move. So that little piece of tape will keep it snug there for now. All right, so now we've got our two pieces of fabric, and we want them to be wrong sides together, just like that. So this is my piece with the stabilizer on it, and this is just the piece of fabric. You could do another piece of stabilizer on here too, but it's really not necessary. Those are together. Now, bring this back in, and we are going to lay these. So this is the back, the piece with the stabilizer. We're going to lay it. Let me take them apart. It might be easier. So this is face up. This is the backing that has the stabilizer. We're going to place it pretty side down on top of the cork. Then we're going to take the fabric heart that is going to be the lining that has no stabilizer and place it pretty side face up on top, just like that. Okay. Now here's a place where some wonder clips or quilting clips come in. We don't use a lot of them, but you've got a little bit of thickness here. Not too bad. If you do have a walking foot, I tell you that it will really help with this last part. But if you don't have a walking foot, a regular foot works just fine as well. You just want to make sure and keep everything nice and tight together. So I just put a few clips on it to hold everything together. And now I'm going to go back to my machine, and I'm going to come in at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to sew all the way around. No need to leave a turning gap, because that's right here. Hang on, let me think about this for a minute. Yeah, okay. I was thinking, oh, I'm seeing the back of that, but eventually we will turn that through. Wanted to make sure I got that right. All right, so we want to go and sew all the way around. Now, let me give you just a few little tips about these curves, because I know sometimes curves make people a little bit nervous. So with these curves, straighten that up a little bit. With these curves, they're pretty mild curves until you get into here, right? So there's two things that I've found with curves over my 55 years of sewing, is that on your curves, use a shorter stitch length. It helps guide it around the corner much easier. So instead of your average 2.5, go down to a 1.8 or so, something like that. If you have trouble with your curves, make that smaller stitch length. It'll be much easier, especially in this area. When you're coming to your point, stop and literally pivot your fabric with your needle down, pivot it, and then start it again. And just like I was saying before when you were putting in your zipper, you are in control. Go nice and slow. There's nobody timing you to get around this heart. And the slower you go, the more control you'll have until you get used to it, of course. Okay, so we're going to take this back over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew around the heart. Flip the camera over, there we go. So I'm going to change my stitch length to a 1.8. Get everything set up. I don't know about you guys, but I have to use magnifiers when I sew these days. So let's get those on. Now, I said 1/4 of an inch. I know what 1/4 of an inch is like on my walking foot. It has a little groove here, and the edge of that groove is my 1/4 inch. So as long as I'm lined up right there, I know I'm at a 1/4 inch. You may want to use a 1/4 inch piecing foot if you have one, or a regular foot, or however you determine where 1/4 inch is, okay? So again, I'm just going to go slow, keep everything lined up. See, as I sew slowly, I'm in complete control. I can guide my fabric, I can guide my piece. Nothing is out of my control. I'm to the point. Now I'm literally going to shift and pivot and keep going. A little bit faster. So now I'm starting to come up on my curve here. So because I'm going relatively slow, it's pretty easy for me to guide my piece. See, I'm just kind of guiding it, and that smaller stitch is helping. Now right here, this is where I'm at, I guess a steeper part of the curve, you could say. Let me take that clip out. So I'm going to stop a little bit and I'm going to pivot. I'm going to leave my needle down and I'm going to pivot just a little bit and then keep sewing. Okay, so I'm getting ready to start this downward part of the curve. So again, with my needle down, I'll lift my foot a little bit and do a little bit of pivoting. And I just go nice and slow. I've got a nice 1.8 short stitch length. I'm going to come right into the corner. There we go. And then I'm going to stop with my needle down and I'm going to pivot this way and I'm going to continue around my heart. See, there's really nothing all that scary about curves, but if you're trying to go fast and you feel like you're out of control, you can definitely, you know, mess your curve up for sure. So now I'm going to do a little pivot there. Now I'm just about to go over where my zipper is. So I'm going over my zipper and now I'm actually going to do some back stitches back over that zipper. Just follow that same line and then I'm going to keep going straight again. And the reason I did that is because that will help maintain
a good solid hold on that zipper. I actually forgot to do that over here on this side, but I'm done on this side, and I just stitched over where I started by a couple of stitches, or you could back stitch there if you like. But what I'm going to do, just to make sure, because I forgot to do it on this side. So right there is my zipper. I'm just going to come in here, stitch over my zip, stitch back down, and done. That way my zipper is just in there really good and solid on those ends, because when you go to turn them, that's going to be a weak point if it's not sewn in there well. Okay, switch my stitch length back. Okay, now go back over to the main camera. Let me flip that over. Okay, so now we have our piece like this. If you have a rotary cutter that has a pinking shear on it, a pinking blade, great. Or if you have pinking shears, great. Because what I do at this point, I don't go all the way up to my stitches. Actually, it's going to be better, I think, if I show you here. I don't go all the way up to my stitches, but I do take my pinking shears and I just pink the edges a little bit. One, when I turn it, it's going to help that curve spread out a little bit, and it's going to turn nicer. Two, it's going to take the bulk out of my points and out of my seams. So I'm not doing a lot. I'm not going all the way up to the line, just getting the edges, just to get the bulk out and to help with those curves. So right there is where my zipper is. I'm not even going to mess with that. If it doesn't go over it quick and easy, I don't even want to mess with it. Okay, so now I've done that. Let's flip this again. And one more time. All righty. So now I'm going to stick my finger in here, and I'm going to try and pull that piece of tape out that we had on the zipper pull. And it should come out pretty easy. There it is. Throw that away. Now I'm going to put my fingers back in here. I'm going to finish unzipping that zipper. There. So now it's nice and zipped. And now I'm going to start turning at my upper curves of the heart. They're going to need the most attention as you turn. And I like to use my fingers first. That way I'm not pushing really hard and I'm not likely to go through. You can, believe it or not, pop through cork. So you don't want to think, oh, it's indestructible, and get your pokey tool in there and really get going on it, because you can go through it. I've done it. That's how I know. And then once I get my other one done, my other little lobe of my heart here. Did you know those are called lobes and hearts? That's geeky biologist trivia from me to you. But those are called the lobes of the heart. Okay, so it looks completely weird at the moment because I didn't get that all the way pulled out. So now that I have it kind of undone, I am going to take my pokey tool. I recommend something. Do you see that little ball on there? I love this. This is called a precision turning tool. If you have a chopstick that's rounded and kind of blunt on the end, that works well. I really don't recommend scissors, and I really don't recommend knitting needles. Because of those sharp points, you will tend to occasionally go through your fabrics, and that's always so disappointing, because then you have to turn everything back the other way and re-sew, and it just becomes more of a hassle than it's worth. Okay, so I'm going to zip it closed. All right, so I've got it turned inside out, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to my pressing mat. I'm going to get rid of all of this salvage here. Oh, got dust everywhere on me. I'm going to take it to my little pressing mat here. Flip
this. Got it on my pressing mat. I've got the cork side down, and I'm going to give it a really good press around, because I will tell you that because you're using the cork and all, your seam is a little bit bulky, even though if you didn't reduce the bulk, it would be worse than this. But I'm just giving it a good flattening, not really a pressing, but more of a flattening. Okay. So there's that side. And now it's a little better. And now I can look at it a little better and see, do I need to unzip this? I'm going to move the mat out of the way from it. Do I need to unzip this? Do I need to? And now that it's a little warmer, I can kind of work the cork and the fabric a little bit. It won't be completely smooth because the cork on a curve isn't going to be super duper smooth, but you can get it nice and worked out. And that's pretty good. You might want to, while it's warm, see if you can put your pokey tool in there and get a little bit more of a detailed point on your end here at the bottom. There, that's pretty good. Now, bring this back in. Believe it or not, don't hold down onto your cork, but you can give it a little press. And my iron here's, I will say it's pretty hot, so I don't press over the zipper because it's nylon, but I do give a little press just along the edges there. I don't hold it down long enough for it to burn or melt anything. In a second, to melt the cork. Cork is fine to press from the back side all day long. I try to be a little more, can we use the word tender, I guess, with the front of it. Then flip it to the back and really give it a good press again. All right. Flip my cameras again. One more time. Oops. Oh, of course. There we go. There we go. And we're done. There we have the little Be Mine pouch. It unzips nicely. It's got your nice little lining in it. Now the back side of the cork I didn't line because it has a lining on it. So there was really no reason to put something else on there. And with those pinked edges, you're not going to get fraying and stuff. You're not going to get fraying from the cork anyway. There, now I have two. That didn't take me very long doing the demo. Once you're just doing it on your own, you can really whip these out quickly. So remember, the template and the cutting instructions are in the description below. If you like doing this, and if you looked at some of my other videos and you enjoy them, please subscribe to my channel. Please click the little bell. That way you'll get notifications when I put out new videos. And I thank you so much for taking some time and joining me to sew up some little Be Mine heart pouches. Have a great day, everybody. Go sew the world beautiful. Bye now.